sing a special for us. And then we'll get back in the book of Daniel.
I heard tell one time about a man who was walking through a cemetery, and he was noticing and reading the inscriptions that were on the tombstones. And he came up on one particular tombstone. It didn't have anyone's name. It didn't have a birth or a death date. Didn't have any other information. But right in the middle of that tombstone was one word. And that one word was forgiven. And that's what this song is about. It's called Sweet Forgiveness. Sweet forgiveness to my soul, divine redemption made me whole, heavenly pardon flowing deep within, sweet forgiveness for my sin. Oh Lord, I am unworthy to even speak your name, and I just can't understand why you love me just the same. You knew all about me, all my guilt and shame, and my mind can't comprehend why you would take my guilt and blame. But it is sweet forgiveness to my soul, divine redemption made me whole, heavenly pardon flowing deep within, sweet forgiveness for my sin. Oh, the awful weight of sin was pressing heavy down on me, and I yearned so much to know that I was free. Then Jesus lifted up that weight, and he bore it on a tree, and I found forgiveness like I never thought could be. And now it is sweet forgiveness to my soul, divine redemption made me whole, heavenly pardon flowing deep within, sweet forgiveness for my sin, sweet forgiveness for my sin. How sweet it is.
All right, thank you, singers, musicians. Y'all can be seated tonight. Let's get in the book of Daniel, please. Chapter number 2, the book of Daniel. Chapter number 2 tonight. Of course, we got you all caught up here, thoroughly covered there, the grounds concerning Daniel. We looked at those as well. And there's yet future kings, which we're going to see. He's speaking of concerning future kings, but there is one king here in particular who becomes a type, and he's used here in the book of Daniel. It's Nebuchadnezzar. Then also his kingdom in which he is over, that's the kingdom of Babylon. And of course, God had allowed that kingdom to come in and take his people. And so he allowed them to absorb them into his kingdom. And so God could have very easily have allowed Nebuchadnezzar to have been more harsh against his people. But the Lord had already put it in his heart to take them in. And so he done that. Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego was part of a great number of people that was taken into that kingdom. And so Jeremiah prophesied concerning this takeover and how that the Israelitish people could have had it much easier on them as they moved in and took them over. But of course many people fought against it, and as a result there was much. And his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. Now, make a couple of comments right here as concerning a lot of things that we have in our culture today. In the days of Nebuchadnezzar, even back from the very beginning, there's a lot of things that was handed down from generation to generation, idolatrous practices and paganism and things of that nature, and it got intertwined within our culture. And so there's a lot of things. You wonder why there's the Easter is celebrated with a bunny rabbit and eggs and things of that nature. And you wonder at Christmas also as well. There was the intermingling of a lot of things that originated from Babylon that got brought in and into Christianity. There's an intermingling there. God doesn't like that intermingling. We just think it's fun and games, but it's not, my friend. It's things. It's still the recognizing of these old cultures, these old paganist practices. And here you see as well, concerning in their culture at that time, you've got magicians, you've got astrologers, you've got sorcerers, and these wise men called the Chaldeans as well. And so you have, and then Daniel mentions over here in just a few more verses about soothsayers. So you got all this type of practices that was in those days. Nebuchadnezzar had these men and got the best of the best that he could find. And so you can kind of see how culture was. We'll look at that a little later on. So verse number 3, and the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream. My spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, says, the thing is gone from me. If you will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill. Oh, wasn't Nebuchadnezzar a nice guy? But if you show the dream and the interpretation thereof, ye shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. They answered again and said, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that you would gain the time, because you see the thing is gone from me. But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you, for ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such a thing at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon. And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain. They sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain. Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation. Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his, and he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings. He setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of thee, for thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto them, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof? Daniel answered in the presence of the king, and said, The secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king? But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter. And he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. Ta-da! I started to call Daniel to come in early and draw me a good one. I thought, nah. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. Is that pretty terrible or what? But I think that's a different interpretation of terrible. This image head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream. We will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall rise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. Whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, thou They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of